This cast when stun build uses chaos skills and we go CI. This has to be one of my favorite builds so far. You might think it's just because I'm tired of playing Ignite with the Chieftain, but even though the Chief is an absolute beast, this build uses Whispers of Infinity, allows us to scale energy shield and damage together while doing almost any mod that you could want. This build's worth checking out, and let me tell you all about it. So the first thing I want to cover is the capabilities of this build. I have so far taken this beyond depth 400 in the delve. I have farmed countless ultimatums. I've attempted sims. Sims we're still working on. Kosis is a beast with his fast immunity phase. I haven't been able to really like chunk him down in those last levels. We'll get there though. Hopefully in the next update I give you. This build basically does everything that you could want. Even does Blight. If you really want to do Blight, I've taken it pretty much to T17s. I've farmed them all without any issues. I've done all the thread bosses. I've pretty much done everything with this build that I could want to do. So with that said, let's just cover leveling real quick, because this is a big comment. People will say, hey, how do I get this to level 90? How do I get this to level 80? Whatever that is. You just take any other build. Like, since this build basically requires a Mageblood, just get some twink leveling gear and level up a shadow, get into Sab, and then start this build. Basically, as soon as you get Whispers of Infinity and you reach the level to wear all this gear, which is somewhere between 68, 74, 78, and 84, depending on what gear you're using. I basically bought my way into the build using lower item level gear. Until I was able to get the final like 84 and then just go ahead and just load everything in. So speaking of gear, let's actually go through the gear and kind of talk about like what you need to do this build. For the weapon, we're using Mystic Refractor. I just basically paid, I think, 1 divine for this, and it's near perfect. It's just going to help us with some cast speed, projectile damage, and give us 3 extra projectiles. So pretty cool, straightforward. Just grab what you can. The rolls, when I go through this, just know that I tried to buy the best rolls that I possibly could given the currency that I had. You can do the same thing. If you're rich, you can just go out and just buy a bunch of perfects and you're done. All right, moving on to the helmet. I have a rare here, and this is really, really flexible. What I'm looking for is basically big res, and I'm looking for as much energy shield as I can possibly get. The next piece is going to be Aegis Aurora. You just want as much armor and energy shield as possible here, so buy the best one that you can afford. Next is going to be our centerpiece, which is Whispers of Infinity. This is how the whole build works. This amulet allows us to use energy shield instead of life or mana to cast our skills. So you just want to get like the best roll you can. And I also just want to show you that on this, you really want the 60% reduced max mana. We're trying to get our mana as low as possible. So you want to get as much energy shield and as little mana as you could possibly get in this. Go ahead and allocate vigor, and that's going to give you an extra endurance charge. Let's talk about the rings next. We're using Anathema and we're using Chavaron's Revelation. Now you'll notice that both of mine are corrupt. I'm solving bleed and I'm solving poison on my rings. You can do this on Flasks. You can do this in other ways. This is just how I chose to get immune to as much as possible. I also want to just take a second to say, you do not have to copy this build 1-to-1. You can move things around. You can try other gear. You can try different roles. You can try to see if you can make this work in a different way. I've been able to change so many different things. It's very, very flexible. Speaking of flexible, let's go into the chest piece, because this is a very open area. Now, to start, you want the Incandescent Heart. That's going to give you armor. It's going to give you energy shield. You're going to take less elemental damage. It's just a great chest piece, and usually it's next to nothing. But if you want to move beyond that, because, and we'll talk about the gems in just a second, but because Forbidden Rite scales with energy shield, you may consider going into a Twilight Regalia or even a Sacred Chainmail. Now, I've played with all 3, and I will say that there's really not much of a difference. The difference is you're going to lose about 30,000 armor between losing a flask and maybe changing out into like a Twilight Regalia. Now, the armor is not so important. You're really aiming for like 50, 60,000 armor and above when you're fully like buffed up and all that. I'm going to use the Sacred Chainmail for now as I'm continuing to refine this build and hopefully give you an update on what I think is absolutely the best. Start with Incandescent Heart. You can either try the Twilight Regalia or the Sacred Chainmail. You just want as much energy shield and if with the chainmail, as much armor as you can possibly get. So get the best rolls. Make sure you're delving, getting those fossils so you can roll at, because Harvest is terrible at rolling defenses from my experience. So stick with fossil crafting if you can. Okay, let's finish the last ones. I don't have to go through Mageblood. Mageblood just helps us actually get to the numbers that we want, and I'll talk about that when we get to the flask. All right, next and the last rare that we need is Nexus Gloves. We need Nexus Gloves because of the reduced mana. We're trying to get our mana as low as possible with still being able to reserve our ores. Now, I've been able to achieve that, and you can see I'm down to 23 mana and 0 is left over. It's all reserved. With the gloves, like everything else, just as much energy shield and fill your reses with this. It's a really simple and cheap piece. We're not putting Eldritch currency on it. We want those implicits. Unlike the helm, let me just go back to that. For the implicits, you can literally put whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Just find like 2 lines that work for you. I happen to use these ones. Honestly, I was using this helm without any lines for a while, and it just didn't matter. So it's just bonus. And finally is our Skyforth. Let me talk about the Skyforth real quick, because you might be tempted to get as little or as much mana as you want. The rolls here don't matter. If you get 60 to max mana, which is the lowest you can get, you should end up around 23 mana like me. If you get to 100, the mid roll basically, it will take you to 24 mana, and a max roll, which is 120, should take you maybe to 25. But I didn't go for a max roll, so I'm just saying it's either going to be 23, 24, or 25. Don't sweat it, all right? It all works the same. And Skyforth here, the only thing we care about here is literally stun threshold is based on 500% of our mana. That's it. All right. I mean, so that's why I'm saying like the other roll doesn't matter. I'll get this comment and I want to make sure I cover it. Everything else is pretty straightforward. We're literally just trying to push our energy shield and our armor as much as possible. Okay, switching over from gear to our gems. Our gems are really, really, really easy. And they're not that expensive like the Chieftain, because some of those gems, the base is like a divine each. All right, so I'll just go real quick. You can also refer to the POB. It's in the description below. Also, before I get too much further, if you like this kind of content, you dig my personality, whatever it is, and you want more from me, please consider liking, subscribing, and maybe leaving a comment below. All right, now let's go into the gems. In the weapon, I have Convocation, that's cooldown recovery, automation, so it's always firing, and Tempest Shield, it's always on anyway. It's going to help us with our spell block. It's going to grant us immunity to shock, which doesn't matter because we're using Storm Shroud, which will be covered shortly too. In the helm, we have Cast When Stun, we have Despair, Enfeeble, Punishment. This is what Anathema is going to allow us to curse 3, all right? A solid 3 curses, and off we go. So in our shield, we have Molten Shell, Frost Shield, and Cast When Stun. This is going to be a really good defensive layer, so I would not change that out. In our gloves, we have Frost Bomb for life regen, cutting that down for the monsters, Assassin's Mark, and Cast When Stun. Assassin's Mark's there to give us power charge and crit. And then I have Flame Dash. For your movement skill, you can use Frost Blink. You can use Frost Blink of Wintry Blast. You can use Flame Dash. You can use pretty much anything you want here. I like Flame Dash. It gives me 3 shots, and I'm just kind of used to it. All right, in the boots, we have Flesh and Stone, Determination, Discipline, and an Enlighten. You don't even need an Enlighten 4. Enlighten 3 gets the job done. All right, the last and main sequence of gems we're going to use is Hexblast of Havoc, Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice, increased damage for crit, increased area of effect, Void Manip, and Cast When Stun. By the way, you can go ahead and get these in Awakened Gems and just do even more. That covers our gems. Next, let's jump into our flasks. Now, our flasks are kind of interesting because we have a little bit of flexibility here. You don't actually need Aura ISN to get this going. I've played plenty of maps without it, and it felt just fine. But these 4 flasks here for our Mageblood, let's talk about them. So the 4 flasks we're using, and before I was using a Bismuth flask and I was using a Basalt flask. The Basalt flask can give you 20% more armor plus give you taunt. Instead of having my reses at 75, 80, 76, I wanted to push the reses up a little bit more, but drop some of that armor. So not only did I change my armor piece, but I dropped the Basalt flask in exchange for the Topaz and the Ruby flask. With a Mageblood with 70% increase and 25% increase effect, you can get +9 to your max reses. So I didn't do this for cold because I already got +5 from the shield, and that's going to give me plenty. If we look over here on my defenses, you can see my max reses are 84, 80, and 85. Honestly, I just don't die. I would love to get to 90 all res like the Chieftain does, but I don't think that's possible on this. And if you're thinking about using like melding of the flesh, there's no way you're going to make up for 60% reduced elemental reses. I also decided to go with the Quicksilver and the Granite. The Granite's going to give me a lot of armor. Basically what we're looking for on our 4 Flask. You want chance to avoid being shocked for our Storm Shroud. You're going to want increased armor effect. You're going to want reduced effect of curses. And you're going to want crit strike chance. On all these, make sure there's 70% effect. And also make sure you get 25% increased effect on each one. We're going to jump over to the Pantheon. But before we do, I want to talk about taking damage from crit strikes. There are different ways that you can solve this, lower your damage and avoid crit strikes. You can do it through tattoos. You can do this through corruptions on chest, on shield. You can do it on the tree. There's a mastery for it. And there's a notable that will give you 30% less. There are multiple ways. One way that I'm choosing to do it to defend myself and my merc this league is the Garb of the Ephemeral. This drops from Uber Cortex. You can throw it on and basically your merc is immune, you're immune. You don't have to do anything more. Now you could also choose to get 50% on a corruption on an incandescent heart. You can get up to 20 or 30% on your shield if you want that corruption. Whatever you need to do to become immune from crit strikes, it is really important to become immune to those because ultimatums, I mean, they will crit you. Basically everything in the game is going to crit you, and just think of it that way. You want to solve this in some fashion form. Let's look at the Pantheon. Before I got the Garb, I was taking Soul of Solaris because when you capture Kitava, it says, take no extra damage from critical strikes if you've taken a crit strike recently. Now, this is a little troublesome because it doesn't account for the first crit strike you take. So if that thing is a big one, you could be one shot. So I don't like solving this on the Pantheon. I like solving this through corruptions or the tree. I mean, in this case, the Garb, right? Because it's this league and we probably won't have it next league. But that's my PSA on extra damage from crit strikes. Now, what I am taking right now with crit strikes being solved is I'm taking Soul of Arakali and I'm taking Soul of Aberath. Now, this is just going to help me with Burning Ground, and this is basically going to help me with recovery rate, less damage over time taken. These are the two that make sense for me. That's your Pantheon. Let's talk about Bandits. When you're first going through the axe and leveling, you might be tempted to go ahead and take a Lyra for the plus 15% elemental res. You're not wrong for that. Just know that you probably want to go back and change it for Amir and get your 1 point. Because we can do a little bit more with the 1 point, I think, later on in the game than we can, in the beginning. Bandits is take all. Let's just go through jewels, and I mean, you can see the tree why I'm doing that. I don't think there's anything in particular I need to cover with the tree other than rune graphs. We are using 3 rune graphs. We're just using a time, we're using fortress, and we're using treachery. You can put them basically anywhere. It doesn't matter. Just put them on a mastery and then take it. The only other thing is just why I'm talking about rune graphs is we do have a couple masteries that were not taken. So for example, the crit mastery, if I was to get to level 100 with this build, the rest of my points would be endurance charge and then get overcharge. And then maybe with my last point, I'm probably going to get that last 30% reduced extra crit strikes. And that just helps me for when I'm not around my merc or something like that. I don't know. I don't know where else you'd put it. And the reason why I don't have 2 extra points is I ended up getting this killer Megalomaniac. It had Wicked Paul on it, as well as Overwhelming Malice and Enduring Ward. This is going to give us Endurance Charge when we block. Overwhelming Malice could give us Unholy Might. And Wicked Paul is just more chaos damage, so why not? All right, now going through our jewels from bottom to top, we have the Red Nightmare. If you don't want to buy this, or if it's more expensive than like the Red Dream plus a Chayola's Blessing, you can go either way to get this. The roll doesn't really matter. We're just here for the block. Next going up, we have a large cluster. Now you may look for a better one that's like 8 nodes and 3 notables. Just know it doesn't exist. You cannot get this particular jewel in that setup. This is the setup you have to get it in. We need Unspeakable Gifts. This is going to give us a little bit of Explode, like a cheap little Profane Bloom. And we're also going to need Unwaveringly Evil, and that's just more chaos damage, but chaos skills ignore interruption from stuns. And unfortunately, the interruptions are pretty real. So we try our best, we get these, and then I've already gone through the Megalomaniac, and then finally is our Watcher's Eye. Now on this one, I'm just getting Fizz damage reduction. I'm getting some energy shield recovery rate, and the flammability doesn't matter. We're not using Purity of Fire. So you just really want those 2 lines. And honestly, they're just like a little bit more defense. So get them, you know, get 1, get 2, see what you can get. I know the market for Watcher's Eye is a little tough right now. So that's why I'm kind of a little iffy on that. All right. The Light of Meaning. Let's talk about this jewel. I got this for 50 divines. I spent the most on this thing. And I got it because I wanted to solve Corrupted Blood. Because I solved bleeding on my ring, I didn't want to waste a Flask spot solving bleed and Corrupted Blood. So I decided to go ahead and just sell a bunch of Life Force. I've been casually farming Harvest. I bought this jewel with Corrupted Blood. I dropped my rare jewel, put my Watcher's Eye in, and then put this in. And this is just going to be more damage. So to grab a Light of Meaning, it's a little extra chaos damage. It's going to scale well. Why not? And then moving up here, we just have 2 more, and next is going to be Militant Faith, because we want to get Power of Purpose. This is how we're going to finish reducing our mana. So you need this. What you get on it is the all elemental res and reduced mana cost of skills. I mean, they both help us, so go ahead and grab it. I think I paid 1 divine for this jewel. Super easy to get. The last jewel that we care about is going to be our Storm Shroud. This is how we get immune to elemental ailments. So we don't use Purity of Elements, and that's how you would do it otherwise. In this, we're doing Storm Shroud. It's the way to go. That's our jewels. I don't think there's anything crazy on the tree that I need to cover. It's pretty straightforward. We're just doing some tattoos down here for fire res so we can get our attack block up. This build is really just block, and if we look at our block, you can see that we're at 70 and 78. It's great. We're always firing our skills. This is a solid build defensively. Let's just go over our ascendancies real quick. The order that you take these, I don't know if it necessarily matters. You should be able to do Uber Lab before you get into this build, so you should have all these anyway. But you want Born in the Shadows. It's going to give us the blind. That's another defensive layer. We're going to take Perfect Crime. This is how we get our trigger bots. We're going to take Bomb Specialist. Just, you know, gives us more damage and less damage taken. And then finally, Calculated Risk. This is going to make our crit strike chance lucky. Okay, that covers the tree. It covers jewels. It covers basically everything that I think that we need to get this started. The last part I want to cover are upgrades. Now, you probably could go Lucky Block. You can get Svalin in here if you want. For Skyforth, maybe you pick up +1 endurance charges. If you're feeling like you're squishy, you can go into defense. If you're feeling like you're not killing things fast enough, try to get the energy shield up. Try to get all your gems 20/20, get your awakened gems, squeeze out as much damage as you can. So you could push the rares. You could probably get a mirror rare up here for like huge amounts of armor and energy shield. You could probably double corrupt your Mageblood if you got, you know, those kind of balls. Other than that, you're just looking for like really good corruptions, and everything else is pretty straightforward. The POB is down below in the description. If you take this build and you build it and you find ways to improve it, please come back and let me know. Drop a comment below. I'm going to show a little bit of gameplay right after the conclusion if you want to see it. I'm not going to give you a whole bunch. It's very similar to any other cast when stun build. Everything just goes boom. It's destroyed. It's purple because I'm using chaos skills. And that's about it. So I hope that you'll consider playing this. If there's any more cast when stun builds out there, I'm going to try to play them. If I think they're worthy of a video, I will make a video. Again, try to play this if you want. You know, if you got something else you want to play for this league, or you're bored or something, you want to try something that nobody else is playing, Hey, this is it. If you want to see what I did and how I like made the journey to where I am, you can always look at the live stream VODs on YouTube or Twitch. And with that being said, I hope you have a great rest of Mercenaries. Maybe get into this build, get into something else that you like. And I appreciate you watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.
The flames bite upon your heels. The dance of death is swift and turbid.